Lewis Eaton was also a storyteller, and he wrote two books that were published of stories. The first one was Pork, Molasses, and Timber, which really was a story of the logging camps in Maine on the St. Croix River. And then he wrote a book called Saltwater, Freshwater, and Firewater, which was similar. I have a hard time telling you whether these are history books or just memories. You know how memories can be warped and become not true. He wrote a third one, which I'm one of the few people who read it, and it was about the women in Calais, the upper class women whose husbands were owners of woodlands up north, and they'd go off for a month or two, or whose husbands were ship captains, ship owners, who would take loads of pine deals, D-E-A-L-S they call them, planks that were 3 inches thick, pine planks down to New Haven, Philadelphia, or across the pond to England. And his third book was the story of these women while their husbands were gone. And there was 3 parts to the title, and the only one I remember was Silk Curtains. I read it as about a 12, 13-year-old, and there were things in there that were shouldn't have been made public in those days, and so it wasn't. And Lord knows where the text is now. Lewis, when he died, my father was the executor of his will, and so there were things that had, quote, no value, like the elk head, the caribou head, and the picture up here on the wall, and the frying pan hanging on the chimney up the camp. That stuff my father brought home and eventually ended up where it is now. Other kind of funny thing about Lewis, one of his John Minor was the dentist and a friend of my father's, about the same age, growing up in Calais. John Minor married a Virginia Eaton of that same family, and John, when Virginia died, John, this man in his 80s, remarried one of his former patients, a woman named June from Macadam. Was really nice, is still a nice lady here in 1914. And June had been taken once by John to go to Lewis Eaton's house. And I'm not sure if Lewis was still alive or not, but she made the comment about Lewis being the man who had all the dead wives. And he was married 5 times, and only one survived him. The others all died, I assume, of natural causes.